So now, I call upon Dr. Yong Guan from the Singapore First Party.
Good evening. Good evening, fellow citizens, fellow Singaporeans. Happy Labor Day to all of you. Happy Labor Day to all workers in Singapore for contributing to nation building. This evening, I will focus on the PE Fit. P is for the person. E is for the environment. So if you have a good PE Fit, you are blessed. You enjoy going to work. You fit in very well with your work environment. In the good old days, you can work until ripe old age in one company because of your loyalty. Loyalty. So that is a good PE fit, fitting you to the environment. Unfortunately, over the years, it is not easy nowadays to get a good PE fit. So my emphasis is on the E of the PE fit, the environment we are creating in Singapore. The environment, the work environment in Singapore, the societal environment in Singapore. Now, so much emphasis has been given to the upgrading of workers in terms of skills, in terms of productivity. In this year's May Day speech or message, PM Lee said, productivity has risen too slowly in the past few years.
Dr. Ang, put closer to your...
He warned that if it continues to stagnate, so will wages, which may even fall back. Actually, productivity has not risen at all. In 2011, productivity fell by 2%. 2012, it fell by 2.6%. And in 2013, there was no productivity growth, zero. And last year, it fell by 0.8%. So productivity in Singapore is going down, down and down. But the PAP is saying, unless you increase your productivity, your wages will be affected. Your wages will also fall back. This sounds like PAP is always instilling fear, instilling insecurity in you, threatening that you must increase productivity, that you must improve your skills, warning you, shifting the blame to Singaporeans. Upgrade your skills, increase your productivity, or else wages will stagnate. You heard from Mr. Leong Si Hian. Wages increase is minimal, almost zero, 0.5% over the last 10 years. Now, PM Lee also mentioned skills future, which is about encouraging people to learn and upgrade their skills throughout their lives. They have been saying this for the past many years. It's more of the same. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Old wine in new bottle. And that is the PAP. The same old stuff. Nothing has changed. Do you all agree with me? Nothing has changed in the last 50 years. So instead of focusing on the P, they always blame the P. I'm going to talk about the E, the environment. the impact of a good work environment on mental health, on emotional well-being. You see, if you have a good work environment, you are motivated to go to work. You want to do your best. You look forward to go to work. So let's talk about how do we improve the environment, the work environment. A lot depends on the employer. I'm going to tell you the story of Tony Hsieh. Who is Tony Hsieh? Tony Hsieh is an American Taiwanese. In 1999, he started Zappos.com to sell shoes online. But who wanted to buy shoes online? Who wanted to buy shoes online? Nobody. His company did not do well. His company did not do well. But he persisted. He knew that one day people would buy shoes online. By 2009, his company took off. He sold his company, Zappos.com, to Amazon.com for $2 billion US dollars. That is the greatness of one man. He created a company and he improved the company to the extent that he sold it for $2 billion US dollars. He wrote a book in 2010 called Delivering Happiness. To Tony Hsieh, it is not enough just to make money. In the book, there are 3 P: profit, passion, and purpose. Yes, every employer wants to make money. Tony Hsieh wants to make money. But you make money with a purpose. You make money with passion. You look after people. You deliver happiness. You know, when you buy shoes from Zappos.com, if you are not happy, you can send back the shoes, postage paid, within a period of time. Because to Tony Hsieh, he believes in delivering happiness. He wants to give you happiness. Sometimes I wish our government think like that. Not just profit. We want this government to make profit, yes, grow GDP, but with feeling for the people, thinking about creating happiness for the people. So I use Zappos.com as a good example. Now, Tony doesn't rest there. Last night, I went to make sure to know the latest about Tony Hsieh. And guess what? Tony Hsieh is now telling his whole company to study halocracy. What is halocracy? It's spelled as HALOCRACY. Please, this evening, go and Google halocracy. Halocracy is distributed leadership. It's empowerment of every worker in Zappos company. It is empowering each worker. Sometimes I wish NTUC also study halocracy so that every worker in Singapore can feel empowered and do their best for the country. Everyone becomes a leader in halocracy, self-managing, doing your best. You know, instead of the top-down, the conventional top-down, and the progressive bottom-up approach, halocracy combines both the conventional top-down and the progressive bottom-up approach. And it's creating waves in Zappos, creating waves in companies that use halocracy. as a management principle. New wine in new bottle. That is what we want to see in this country. New wine in new bottle. Not old wine in new bottle. Another example I think of is Tan Chek Meng of Google. Tan Chek Meng, he left Singapore after working 5 years as an engineer. He went to Google. He was engineer for 8 years, and then he was made head of personal growth. And as head of personal growth, he introduced lunchtime talk in Google on mindfulness, on meditation, on personal growth. And everybody in Google benefited. And Google became a great company to work for. So we can safely say, good companies create good environment so that workers are motivated to go to work. Zappos and Google are two very good companies with very good PE fit, fitting the person to the environment. PE fit. So much for PE fit. What is the role of the government in promoting a good PE fit? I think the government must continuously look at policies, improve policies, to make sure the workers are not disadvantaged. You heard Fatima, our earlier speaker. She gave you examples of how in the West, the unions are pro-labor. They're not pro-employer, they're pro-labor. They fight for the workers. Here we have lack of employment security. You heard from Leong Si Hian, the influx of foreign workers, the liberal immigration policy, the pro-employer labor laws. All these create insecurity in our workers. They lower self-esteem and promote and make worse the archetypal kiasu mentality we witness in the society. Now, in his May Day message, PM Lee also said, we have tightened up foreign manpower and we have to get used to slower growth. All right? The outgoing Minister for Manpower said the growth rate of E-Pass, employment pass, and S-Pass, the special pass, have decreased from 20% in 2011 to 4% in 2014. So the number of passes, E-Pass and S-Pass, have gone down. The good news, ladies and gentlemen, is that because of the watershed 2011 election, PAP lost one GRC and 40% were against them. And because of you people who came here to support, to go against the 6.9 million population issue, the government now is slowing down in the intake of foreigners. So what does it mean? It means we must stand up. We must vote more people into parliament so that PAP will continue to listen to us. Now more than 90% are PAP MPs. That's not good enough. But clearly after 2011, they have slowed down in the intake of manpower, foreign manpower. Whether good enough or not, I leave it to Leong Si Hien to analyze. Now the bad news. The bad news is that PM Lee is partially blaming the slower economic growth on the tightening of foreign manpower. I am now issuing a challenge to the Prime Minister. Please don't shift the blame to the workers, the people of Singapore. Find creative ways of solving the problem. Find creative ways of solving the problem. Don't blame the slowing of the economy partially because I have to reduce number of foreign workers and therefore economic growth is reduced. You know what's the other reason? The other reason is the economy is matured, more matured now. But the other reason is because of fewer workers and therefore slower economic growth. One person told me her company employs foreign auditors because they are cheaper by a few $100s. Her boss is cutting costs and increasing profits. That's human. We all want more money. We want to make more money. But I am urging the government to step in to encourage bosses to think long term. Employ the Singaporean worker. Pay more to the Singaporean worker. Nurture the Singaporean worker. Let him feel proud. Proud to belong to the company, to belong to Singapore. This is the core of Singaporeans we must nurture and build. Employers must think long term. Not to save that few $100s to get the cheaper auditor who is not a Singaporean at the expense of the Singaporean. You know what she told me? She said after 2 years, these foreign auditors learn English so much and so well, they left the company. And Singapore is seen as a stepping stone for these people. If you nurture Singaporean will plant their roots here and will continue to feel proud to be a Singaporean. So government, please help employers to think local, but act global, act global. Giving them incentives for every Singaporean they employ. Reverse the quota. The more Singaporeans employed, the highly the company is regarded. The more assistance will be given to these sort of companies. On skills training, our skill training must be radically revamped. A recent NTUC survey of 900 over PMEs, professional managers and executives, show that 60% of PMEs do not have the relevant skills. What is happening? Why are they not having the relevant skills? One CEO told me he employs workers from 10 over nations. He has no choice because he has difficulty getting IT programmer. He wants more IT programmer, but he's not getting the IT programmer. What has gone wrong? Are we not churning enough workers with relevant skill? Is there a real need to look at the real needs? No more broad stroke. Go to the specific area and solve the specific problem. The union and the government must be proactive in interviewing PMETs who have lost their job. Talk to them, engage them, find out how to help them while they wait or apply to get another job. You know, one engineer told me he lost his lucrative MNC job to a foreigner. He was very angry and depressed, and he became even paranoid. He started, after 1 year, he became a taxi driver, still angry and paranoid. And he got involved in an accident. And because of it, he had to see a psychiatrist. And he was suffering from psychiatric problem. Now, there are many there who have lost their job, changed job, but they don't necessarily surface to see psychiatrists. So many out there are suffering because they have lost their jobs and they are yet to find another job. Singapore has moved from the third world to the first world in terms of economy, in terms of physical infrastructure. But in terms of labor law, I'm afraid we have still a long way to go. We are too biased in favor of employers. Our law are too biased. And we must change it to protect workers more. And we must ensure there's adequate compensation for workers. Now, talking about tripartite relationship, PM Lee in his rally say, our unions are equal partners with employers and the government. In other words, our unions are equal partner to the employer and the government. Then he said, this government will always be on your side, on the side of the workers. How can there be equal partnership when you have the union chief who is also a minister? So there is a conflict of interest wearing the same hat. But they think it's okay. Tripartite has worked for many years and it will continue to work at the expense of real power to the people, to the workers. In the last 50 years, there were only 2 strikes in Singapore. 2012, the SMRT strike, that was illegal. And in 1986, the then Secretary General, Mr. Ong Teng Cheong, sanctioned a strike, 1986, a 2-day strike. He did not inform the cabinet. In fact, they were all very angry with him. In fact, he said he was scolded. In the interview, he said he was scolded. But, I quote, I did not even tell the cabinet about sanctioning the strike. And some of them were angry with me about that. The Minister of Trade and Industry was very angry. His officers were very upset. If I were to inform the cabinet or the government, they would probably stop me from going ahead with the strike. That is the spirit of a clear, fair-minded leader. How many Ong Teng Cheongs are there in the PAP cabinet or parliament now who dare to go against the cabinet ministers to do something for the workers? 0, yes. If the PAP government does not have enough Ong Teng Cheongs, Let us send in more opposition Ong Teng Cheongs into parliament who dare to check them and dare to speak for the workers. Okay. Lim Swee say, an overseas union leader told him, hey, you are a leader of the Singapore workers and your workers are not allowed to strike. Lim Swee say, it's not they are not allowed to strike. They don't even need to strike. They don't even need to go on strike. Mr. Lim Swee said there are two separate issues, allowing to go on strike or wanting to go on strike, okay? Or needing to go on strike. There are two different issues. What if you have workers who need to go on strike, but they are not allowed to go on strike? There you have a big problem there. Okay, before I conclude, let me say this. If we break the last 50 years into three phases, the first 20 years, first 20 years, the 60s and 70s, we were upgrading our economy. And we were at the first Maslow level of needs, very basic biological needs. And perhaps level 2, safety needs. And then the second period, in the 80s and 90s, our level went to level 3 and level 4. Sense of belonging to Singapore and esteem to be Singaporean. We sang Count on Me Singapore. We sang Stand Up Singapore with gusto. We were proud to be Singaporean. But the third period, from 2000 onwards, in the last 10 years, we have regressed. We have regressed very badly to level 1, level 2, and maybe level 3. We no longer have this sense of belonging and this esteem in us. So ladies and gentlemen, we need to bring back this esteem to the country. We need to bring back this feeling, this strong feeling of belonging to Singapore back to this country. Finally, I started with the PE fit, fitting the person to the environment. I will conclude by saying we need a PG fit, fitting the people to the government. At the moment, there's no PG fit. There's no fit between the people and the government. We must work hard. In the next general election, you know what to do. Send in at least 29 MPs to form more than 1/3. And if possible, form a coalition government. We want a PG fit, fitting the people to the government, and not a misfit which is happening now. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Please stay on the stage. Will all the speakers please come forward to the stage?